Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 9 Frames podcast. This is episode 56, and it is Friday, December 1st, 2023. Welcome to December, folks. I am Bill Whalen.
And I'm Mike Whalen.
Be sure to catch us, as always, on YouTube at 9 Frames Podcast. Our Spotify is 9 Frames, and our X is at 9 Frames Pod. Welcome to December, like I said.
Yeah, it's the start of a new month, and hopefully that means the stories and free agent signings will start to pick up a little bit more. That remains to be seen, but we'll continue to bring you up to date with everything as it happens.
Yeah, not sure where you guys live, but up here in New York, it is getting cold and fast. Hopefully the hot stove is heating up, though, and we got a couple of awards that were given out last night as well. We will get into the fun stuff of baseball now. And we will kick this episode off with a couple of awards that were given out last night. Like I said in the intro, the first one is the Reliever of the Year award. The first one of these ones given out is unanimous, another unanimous award. That is kind of the trend of this season, and it is the monster from Baltimore, Felix Bautista. 8-2 on the year as a closer, 1.48 ERA, 110 strikeouts in only 61 innings pitched. That strikeout rate is disgusting. He had 33 saves with a 3 win above replacement.
Yeah, his season got cut short, and he still wins this award unanimously. I mean, when he went down, we were talking about him as a potential American League Cy Young candidate, so it really isn't surprising to see that he won the Reliever of the Year unanimously, because I think he definitely was the best reliever in the American League. It was a real shame for Baltimore to lose such a big arm down the stretch when they were making their playoff push, but he'll be back.
It'll be a shame going forward until they don't have him. I'm not sure how long it'll keep him out, but probably a good chunk of 2024 as well. Like you said, his season getting cut short there, and he's easily got the highest WAR of any of the finalists here. Once you go to the next guy down, you're around 2.5. This guy's a 3.
I mean, 33 saves is a great season. If he pitched the rest of the season, I would love to. I would assume honestly that he would have hit 40.
Yeah, you would think so for sure.
That's a great season. A 40 save season is incredible.
And in the National League, we have the Milwaukee Brewers closer, Devin Williams, an absolute stud since he added that circle change. This one really could have gone to 3 people between Devin Williams, David Bednar, and Josh Hader. There was no finalist announced for this award, which is kind of funny, I think. But, yeah, you look at the WARs, 2.4 WAR for Hader, 2.5 for Bednar, and a 2.6 for Devin Williams. This one really was a toss-up. And the highest ERA amongst those is David Bednar at a 2 clean.
Yeah, I'm assuming that the voting for this one was much closer than it was for the American League, because I'm honestly no shade toward Devin Williams or David Bednar, but I don't know how Josh Hader doesn't win this, man. No. He had a 1.28 ERA.
Yep, I'm with you on that.
It's just insane.
I was going to say I'm surprised as well when you look at it, because David Bednar led the National League in saves, and Josh Hader led the National League amongst relievers in ERA. So Williams didn't dominate either of the 2 dominant or major stats there, but he still ends up taking home the awards. I mean, phenomenal season for him, and he's a deserving candidate as well. So another one on the mantle for him.
Like I said, I think Hader should have won, but I also wouldn't have been surprised seeing any of the 3 of them win with the seasons that they all had. Bednar leading the National League in saves on the Pittsburgh Pirates is pretty crazy.
Nearly 40 as well there with 38. A really impressive season for him.
That is really crazy.
So congratulations to Felix Bautista of Baltimore and Devin Williams of Milwaukee for winning the Reliever of the Year awards.
Yeah, congratulations.
We will move it on over to the most straightforward award you could ever give out this year. Shohei Ohtani wins his 3rd straight Edgar Martinez Outstanding DH Award. I mean, we've said all we can about this guy. His first season above 300, led the AL in homers, led the entire league in OPS, an absolute stud. And next season he's focusing on only hitting, so don't be surprised if he gets 4 straight.
Yeah, I was going to say it's basically he's going to win this award until he decides he's done hitting, which probably won't happen until he retires. The guy he had 2 of them in a row before this year, and he's only getting better. So the 3rd straight, like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a 4th straight now that he's only going to be hitting.
Yeah, for that year, he's going to be a full-focused hitter as a DH. Going to be crazy to see.
I could see him hitting a 50 bomb next year, dude. He was at 44 this year, and he missed almost a month.
Yeah, he only played 135 games as a hitter. So
you mix in 20 games, I think he could hit 6 home runs.
And not only do I think he would, I think he would 100%, actually.
Yeah.
And he is only the 2nd player to win this award 3 times in a row, besides David Ortiz, who won 5 straight from 2003 to 2007.
So he's still chasing Ortiz by 2.
Yeah, he's got some history to chase there. Has to win 3 more in a row to make real history and be the only player to ever win 6 in a row.
If he wins 6 in a row, that is just insane.
That is a long ways away.
Especially in a league now that is universally DH.
Yeah.
There's 15 more DHs in the league now, so if he wins 6 in a row in a league like that, I mean, that's saying something.
And it is worth noting that this might be the last award that Shohei Ohtani takes home in a Los Angeles Angels jersey.
Very true.
Might be the last time you see those 2 names next to each other on the list.
They're still in the final 4 teams that we saw announced today. So,
and that is what we will talk about now. Those final 4 teams, as you said, the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Blue Jays, and the Angels, in no particular order, are among the teams still bidding on Shohei Ohtani, while the Mets, the Rangers, and the Red Sox have turned their attention to other players. That's a Jeff Bassan report.
Yeah, and he also did mention that the San Francisco Giants have long desired Ohtani, even back to when he first signed with the Angels originally in 2017. So they're an outside shot, but nobody really knows how aggressive they're going to be for Ohtani. They have come out and say that they're going to be aggressive for one of Ohtani or Yamamoto, so maybe it's Ohtani.
Still interested to see how the Giants bid in on guys like Bellinger and Matt Chapman as well.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of bats, and it seems like everybody who's bidding right now is focused on pitching.
It does seem like
Don't sleep on the hitters.
Yeah,
man.
it does seem very pitcher dominant right now as free agency has begun, but I feel like it's the same thing. Once Ohtani flies off the board as a hitter right now, then maybe that market will start moving a little bit more.
True. One thing I'm very interested in is just how late into this bidding war the Blue Jays have stuck around.
Yeah, maybe they might just want to be a big player.
I really didn't expect them to be in like that.
I could see him in Toronto, I think. Maybe. I could picture it.
It's still so odd that I guess that report about Seattle being out a couple weeks ago was true. They just gave up on Shohei Ohtani.
Well, the thing is, every team, like I said, should have been in on him. But like once you talk to him and he gives you a number,
maybe that's what happened.
Certain organizations are going to be like, "Whoa,
that might have been what happened, because with him having those secretive meetings that aren't supposed to leak, he could have met with Seattle, and that could have been when they decided.
He literally could have just went to Dipoto and been like, "Listen, I'm seeking $500 million," and Jerry was like, "We cannot afford that. I'm sorry. We would love to have you, but it's not possible."
And the last team that's very interesting here is the World Series champion Texas Rangers seem to shift their focus to other players as well.
I think they're going to be a big player for Hader, like we said.
Big time.
I wouldn't be surprised if they try to add another starter, maybe bring Montgomery back.
I was gonna say, their guy is not signed right now.
They could maybe bring Snell in if they want to spend a little bit more.
Very true.
There's options, so I guess we'll see how the Rangers go shift their focus now that they are backing out on Ohtani a little bit.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to keep covering the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes because there is such little murmurs of rumor with how he's handling it. Yeah, it's tough. You don't really get much information, so we'll keep our eye on it.
It's pretty surprising to see how serious teams have taken him at that request because they really just maybe want him to sign with them. But we've never really, like you said, seen, especially in this day and age with how prominent social media is for it to be so silent around such a big name player. I mean, he's clearly the best player in baseball.
Goes to show how bad teams want him, that they're able to have everybody keep hush-hush on this. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And the next thing we will talk about, we put a little pull up in the Baseball Worldwide community on X. Catch us in there. And you guys responded here. Cardinals rotation, I wanted you guys to grade it. Either an A, a B, or a C, or a D. This is the rotation of Sonny Gray, Miles Mikolas, Lance Lynn, Steven Matz, and Kyle Gibson.
As it sits right now.
Yeah. We got 44 votes on that, and I was actually pretty surprised with how harsh you guys were on this. You were harsh, but fair. 21% of the vote goes to a D on that. I thought that was pretty hefty.
Yeah.
61%, the dominating majority, goes to C. 16% B. And a measly 2% gives it an A.
Those are the Cardinals fans.
I was personally in a low B here, high C.
I think I would agree with the C's and put my vote with the C too. I love Sonny Gray. I think he's great. I'm a fan of Miles Mikolas. Lance Lynn could be good. I mean, they got potential, but I mean they definitely what they do have is innings eaters.
And there's consistency here. So I do think it could be a bit harsh on here, but I do think it's also fair to call them a C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where
D,
I'm putting them.
guys, D, In this league,
That might be like the
Yeah.
Cubs, Brewers, Pirates. Who knows? Like the Central fans that are just hating on him.
I mean, in this league with the pitchers that you got to build a rotation around, and it's like the most important team to win. I don't think the Cardinals have done a D.
Yeah, I don't know if we could give them a D solely because their ace is currently the second place finisher in the American League Cy Young last year. So I think we got to give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, and I'll put them in C.
Yeah, I mean, they take home a dominant C here, so they got a lot of building to do, in the opinion of the baseball worldwide community. Interesting to see.
Yeah, I guess we'll see how it plays out for St. Louis.
And speaking of Sonny Gray in St. Louis, his contract details have come out. I think this is very interesting. They backloaded the guy after he gets that second-place Cy Young finish and gets the money he wants. This is exactly the contract you want after having that type of season.
Yeah, and you know what that tells me? I mean, I'll let you break it down first before I give my thought.
In 2024, he'll get $10 million. 2025, it'll bump up to $25 million. And 2026, he'll be getting $35 million in what, his 37-year-old season?
I think it'll be his age 37 season.
There is also a club option for 2027, and that is another $30 million, or there is a $5 million buyout, of which Sonny Gray would be paid $1 million each year for the next 5, which is a great deal for him. If the option is exercised by the club, the player may opt out for $5 million, and like we said, payable for $1 million a year.
Yeah, I think what this tells me really is that the Cardinals are trying to leave their payroll open a little bit more for the 2024 season. So that means, I feel like that means that they're going to try to add more people and spend a little bit more money because they're only paying Sonny Gray, who is now their ace, only $10 million. I mean, that's a pretty good deal.
For this season, it definitely it's a sign that they're cooking up something bigger.
You could sign some, like, say, I don't know, like a JD Martinez wants a 1 or 2 year deal. You can now do that because your payroll is a little bit more open in 2024.
Not for nothing, it really opens the St. Louis Cardinals up to a big blockbuster trade and having Juan Soto's contract on the roster.
They could put themselves in the mix there too. That honestly, that trade front, there really hasn't been much news on that either. It's been very quiet.
Yeah, the only team we've really heard associated with Soto within the last week has been the Yankees, and all we've heard is that the asking price was so high that there hasn't been much talk since then.
Yeah, and I fail to believe that the San Diego Padres are going to take the first offer they see from the first team. They're going to explore options with other teams. They're going to talk, and they're going to feel their way around the league before they make a deal. If they even do make a deal, like you said, they might just hold on to him.
They might, yeah. It'll be interesting to see what the Cardinals do. Like we have heard that they're shopping around Mats, and they get Sonny Gray for $10 million this year. So
They've been active.
We'll see what they do with the rest of their offseason. They have a lot of money to spend. Moving it on over to another NL Central team, the Cincinnati Reds sign a couple arms here. Emilio Pagan signs for 2 years, $16 million. Just a solid reliever, a guy you want on your roster.
Yeah, he had a great year last year.
And then Nick Martinez signs for 2 years, $26 million. He has been a spot starter. The majority of his innings comes out of the pen, though, for the last 2 seasons. And before that, he hadn't pitched since 2017 in the bigs.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the Reds use Nick Martinez as compared to the Padres since he came back from Japan and reinvented himself. I don't know, because when he left, he was a starter. He started in Japan, and then he comes back, and the Padres kind of move him to the pen a little bit. So I don't know, maybe he wants to start, but then they do have that option of putting him in the bullpen because he showed that he is able to do it, and he does it at an effective rate.
I wouldn't be super shocked if they shifted him over to the starter role because, if I'm correct, doesn't that make Nick Martinez the highest paid Cincinnati Red this year?
He's up there, yeah.
I believe it was $8 million before then, and now it would be Nick Martinez's $13 million. So if your highest paid player is a spot starter and a pen arm, I don't know. I think you want to shift him over to be a full-time starter, especially because Cincinnati, one of their biggest problem has been starting pitching depth.
Yeah, well, like we were just saying, it is still early. So the Reds could make more moves, and Nick Martinez could not be the highest paid player. I highly doubt he's the highest paid player going to next year, considering where the Reds finished last year and the movement they've made in the standings over the last year. I would be surprised if Nick Martinez is the Cincinnati Reds' highest paid player.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the Reds do with the rest of their offseason as well, because they do have, I think they are a couple pieces away from winning the Central, so they got to get those pieces.
I do like both of those moves, though.
Me as well.
Pagan had a nice year for the Twins, and the versatility of Nick Martinez is just worth it for $13 million a year.
And speaking of versatility, we will move on over to the New York Mets, who made a cluster of deals in the beginning of this week. And we'll start with what I would call the utility deal. They signed the Rays' Joey Wendell, infielder, utility guy, to a 1-year, $2 million contract. He will basically be filling in for Luis Guillorme.
Yep, he is going to be the replacement on the bench for Luis Guillorme that can fill in. Actually, I think he plays more positions than Guillorme. He can play the outfield, the corner outfield spots.
And I believe he plays first as well, where Guillorme didn't. So
Guillorme just played the middle infield spots. I believe he could play third, too, so I think he could basically play everywhere except for catcher and center field.
Yeah, I think you are correct on that. I like this deal a lot. This is a guy with 30-plus homers in his career, not something that Guillorme was even close to.
No.
So we get a little more pop. He's also a lefty. So it's a very similar player, except I think just slightly more beneficial to the Mets.
He also wears no batting gloves, too, just like Luis.
Very interesting, yeah.
So it literally is just a replacement of a player on the bench. And I like you just said, I do also like it. I think it's a good move for $2 million.
Be interesting to see if he hooks some balls into the Coca-Cola corner next year. And now we will move on over to another Mets deal, which is Austin Adams, the former San Diego Padre, former Arizona Diamondback reliever. He now moves on over to the Mets on a non-guaranteed split contract. So basically, you can forget about this deal as having an impact on the payroll this year. He is just there to try to prove himself. He had almost an ERA in the 6th last year, but he's a guy who has one of the highest spin rate sliders in the league. He doesn't give up hard hit balls, and I think he's going to be a good help in the back half of that bullpen.
He still does have a 13.4 K per nine in his career as a reliever, so I mean, he does strike people out. His biggest issue is that he walks a lot of guys. He needs to learn to control himself a little bit more. Maybe the Mets can help him with that staff and Jeremy Hefner. Maybe they can help him develop his control a little bit more, hopefully.
Yeah, solid pitching laboratory over there, so we'll see.
We've seen him have some good seasons, though, so low risk, high reward, I'll take it. Absolutely.
A guy whose stuff I really like. It'll be interesting to watch him next year in blue and orange.
Especially for a team that has like no bullpen right now, past Brooks Raley and Edwin Diaz. There's nobody.
Bickford.
Phil Bickford, yeah. There really isn't many options out there as of right now, so they're going to continue to sign these kind of deals for bullpen arms, and that's right up David Stern's alley. It's a low risk, high reward.
Agreed. Another deal I like a lot. These are two under the radar deals, and I did see some fan backlash, but you're going to get that if you're in New York. I mean, but I think these are two deals that are going to help build a winner.
Yeah, talking about fan backlash, the next point about the Mets that you're going to get into, I saw a lot of backlash.
Yeah, this was the big deal they made. That's why I wanted to leave it for the last. The Mets signed Luis Severino, the New York Yankee, to a 1-year, $13 million deal. The rotation after signing him now goes Kodai Senga, Jose Quintana, Luis Severino, Tyler McGill, and Joey Lucchesi. They are also showing interest in Eduardo Rodriguez right now.
Yeah, the Mets are far from done. Their rotation will not look like that on opening day. They're in the market for Yamamoto. They're going very hard for. I see the bullet that you wrote was that the Mets are going full bore for both Yamamoto and Amanga. So they have the potential to have a 3-headed Japanese monster on their rotation if they could do that. And that would push Severino all the way down to being your 5. At that point, dude, I'm taking Luis Severino. I'm taking the chance on him.
Yeah, he's a guy who had one bad year, and
everybody forgot.
Gets a lot of flack. He's still, after having that horrendous year, is a career 3.79 pitcher. Had a 3.18 and over 100 innings the year before that, with a 1 whip on the dot. I mean, the guy has been solid for a pretty lengthy MLB career. So
yeah, he's a former 2-time All-Star, man.
You'd think he'd get more respect than he's getting right now. I don't hate this deal at all. I think it's one of those. It's another one where it is low risk and high reward.
Yep.
If it's a bad year, go. Just go away then, and that'll be it.
You're not tied to the guy after this year if he doesn't have a good year. And if he does have a good year, who's to say he's not happy with us and he wants to come back? You never know.
True.
The guy's only still 29 years old. I don't think he's out of gas in the tank. You know what I'm saying?
No, he shouldn't be.
I mean, he looked like a Cy Young candidate in 2017 and 18. He had great years, man. We can't just forget just because somebody has a really, really bad year. who they could be. And I think that's what David Stearns and the Mets are going to be focusing on a lot for pitchers, it seems like specifically, which is what you need. Any team needs rotational depth.
Yeah, Severino's one of those guys I'll be watching even in early spring to see how he's doing mechanically.
I think it's cool, too, because he spent 7 years with the New York Yankees, and he's going across town to the Mets. He's shown he can pitch in New York, and then he's shown that he really can't pitch in New York. So he can also handle criticism, which I admire out of pitchers who don't beat themselves up too much for pitching poorly in the New York market. So I'm excited to see what Luis Severino can do for the Mets.
We will see. And like I said, they are showing interest, the New York Mets, and Eduardo Rodriguez, a great lefty arm, and they are full bore on both Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Imanaga. So, I mean, if you get any mixture of two of those pitchers, you got a really good ball.
I've also seen that they've had slight less interest in Blake Snell, but there is still some interest there, and also somebody who they've shown more interest in than even Eduardo Rodriguez I saw yesterday was Jordan Montgomery. They also have interest in bringing in for the rotation, so they're interested in a lot more pitchers. Rodriguez, Snell, Yamamoto, Imanga, and then also Jordan Montgomery. So there's a lot of options out there, and like I said, the Mets are not done.
Yeah, I look forward to hopefully announcing the Mets signing some more great pitchers soon. Another thing I will announce now, man, historic here. Jackson Chourio, the 19-year-old number 2 prospect in the MLB, signs an 8-year guaranteed deal with 2 club options, possible to be a 10-year deal for roughly $80 million. We don't know the full money yet. This is the richest deal for a player that hasn't played in the majors by $30 million over Luis Roberts' 6-year, $50 million.
Yeah, we've seen it happen 4 or 5 times in the past with the Evan White and the Mariners, Robert and Eloy Jimenez with the White Sox. Both of those worked out well. Infielder Scott Kingery with the Phillies, that never really worked out.
Ones, yeah.
And really the first one that ever happened was back in 2014 when the Astros did it with John Singleton, and we know how that worked out. But that was far less money. They gave him a 5-year, $10 million deal. Jackson Chourio's getting an 8-year, $80 million
Possibly
deal.
10 too, man. This is crazy. I mean, it's monumental.
You got to have a lot of faith in that kid.
He's 19 years old. He does rank. He has 3 of the 5 tools above a 60 on the scale, and it only goes to 80. So he looks like a really phenomenal player. He had a OPS in the mid 800s last year. He's got the tools. He's got the stuff. I'm not sure when they plan to bring him up. So
maybe next year, honestly.
Yeah, I mean,
if they're paying him that much.
If you're paying him that much, it would have to be.
You'd think.
But what does he have? A couple at bats above Double A?
I don't know. They have to have some kind of faith, and they see something in the kid to give him that much money before he even turns 20 years old and plays a game in the bigs. So
you name 5 deals here, only 2 have panned out, and the other 3 players aren't really anywhere to be seen besides John Singleton, who came up in September this year and helped the Astros out.
Evan White did win a Gold Glove with the Mariners in the 2020 shortened season, so he does have that. That is a little bit of a W for the Mariners in that. But besides that, we really haven't heard Evan White's name a lot. So yeah, only really Eloy and Robert have worked out. So we'll see if this works out with Chourio and the Brewers, which is kind of interesting to see where the Brewers are going directionally.
Well, yeah, they said that they were shopping guys around, kind of a fire sale. So, I mean, I guess they feel like they're going to build for a future window, and Jackson Chourio is going to be the centerpiece of that team.
Best of luck with that.
And another point we will move on, a deal for Dylan Cease seems imminent, apparently, and Atlanta is among the finalists. He's under control for both 24 and 2025 on arbitration deals.
I feel like we've been hearing that for like a year and a half with Dylan Cease now. Like, trade the guy or don't. You know what I mean? Like, for him alone, like, the guy has to constantly worry about his name coming up in trade rumors. Are you going to keep him or are you going to trade him?
It's rough, too. Atlanta's been missing out on their targets this offseason, so they are really looking to get their guy in Dylan Cease and mold him back into the guy he's been in the past.
Yeah, I know Dylan Cease has looked good in the past. He reminds me a lot of Spencer Strider, man. Another pitcher that's going to have a high ERA. He's going to strike a lot of guys out. I'm saying this now. He's going to go to the Braves. He's going to have a 2.30 ERA
Yeah,
next
I know,
year,
right?
because that's what happens. But, Yeah, I mean, they do need they need pitchers, and they have missed out on Nola Gray already. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they pull the trigger on a trade like that.
You've been saying that Cease's name has been out there for what feels like years. They do have a new GM now with Getz, so don't be surprised if we hear his name on the move soon, and don't be surprised if it's in an Atlanta Braves uniform.
That might be the first big domino to fall for the White Sox. If they trade Cease, they might move on to Robert, Jimenez. Who knows who they trade after that? I mean, you're getting rid of your ace. You're blowing it up.
Yeah, we'll keep our eye on those White Sox. Our last point for this episode just happened as we started recording. Former Phillies and San Francisco Giants manager Gabe Kapler will be stepping in as assistant GM for the Miami Marlins.
Yeah, former manager of the year with the San Francisco Giants.
Interesting that he's stepping into an assistant GM role when they don't have a GM right now, right? Kim Ang parted ways with the team a couple months ago.
I don't believe that they've announced one I think we would have seen if they announced a GM. So
Definitely.
Maybe it is very unconventional to build a GM's cabinet with assistant GMs and everything before you actually...
I mean, Gabe's stepping into a role. He doesn't know who he's assisting. Who is he the assistant to?
I guess he doesn't really care, to be honest with you.
He will be moving cross-country, San Francisco to Miami. Nice weather will stay in the forecast.
That is a large move, though. Mm-hmm. You are going all the way across the country.
Big time. Much cheaper to live there, though, and the weather is just as pretty.
Mm-hmm.
So best of luck to Gabe Kapler and the Miami Marlins as they look to try to make the playoffs for a second year in a row.
Back in the NL East, too.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, as always, to everybody for watching and listening wherever you do. This was episode 56 of the 9 Frames podcast. It is Friday, December 1st, 2023. I've been Bill Whalen.
And I've been Mike Whalen.
Catch us, as always, on YouTube at 9 Frames Podcast. Our Spotify is 9 Frames, and our X is at 9 Frames Pod. Follow, like, subscribe, comment, and share with your friends if you like the show.
Yeah, everything Bill just said, we appreciate it as usual. And enjoy the weekend, everybody.
Yeah, holiday season's in full effect. Maybe get some Christmas shopping in. Not sure if you want to get that going. But we will keep our eye on the baseball stories as the weekend progresses. And hopefully there's some big ones to talk about on Monday.
Talk to you on Monday.